G'day fellas, and welcome to another pup update video. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the brand new changes that have just dropped from the pup. So, for anybody who's unfamiliar with what has happened, so the public update preview's been out for about 2 weeks now, and not a lot of people playing it anymore, but we kind of got a bit of an idea of where the balance was. Developers have already come in and said, you know what, we overtuned some things, we undertuned some things, we're fixing them. We're going to jump in and take a look and see what we can spot out. So, general changes and bug fixes. Fixed a few crash and stability issues that were occurring in rare instances. Balance and gameplay changes. All civs. Lightweight beams. Cost increased from 100 wood 225 gold to 300 wood 400 gold. And Mongols improved lightweight beams. Stone cost increased from 325 to 700. The research time has been increased. Delhi's research time has also been increased. So this is an interesting change, and I think it's definitely the right call. It's no secret, Rams are incredible in the late game now, which is a good thing, right? Like, we want Rams to be good in the late game because it means that you're going to be able to attack stone walls a lot more easily compared to before. Before, it was like, I have to get a bombard, I have to rally it to the side of the map, I have to make sure that the pathing is perfect for it so it doesn't, walk into the enemy's gate. Whereas with battering rams, it just made it so much easier. You just take your infantry over to the side of the map, throw down the battering rams, and they do it all for you. So it's much easier, but obviously they're reducing the strength of battering rams in the late game. So I think this is a good call. This is definitely the right play from the devs. And outpost landmarks cannot be built within 8 tiles of enemy landmark town centers. Good night, sweet Barbican rush. It is dead, ladies and gentlemen. They have taken it out. I can't believe that. I can't believe that. Wow. 8 tiles of the enemy town center. Well, it's 8 tiles that the range is, right? So, I mean, you can still Barbican rush. You just can't do, like, the Barbican in the face. Does that mean that, like, what about the Mongol town center? How does that work? Because what if they build the Mongol town center, like, what if they move their Mongol town center into a good spot where you want to put your... it'll never happen. It'll never happen. Okay, Barbican rush is dead. I mean, is the Barbican rush really dead? I mean, if we right now just jump into a game... Hold on. I'll be quick. All right. Chinese. Let's change it to a revealed map. I'll allow cheats just because I'm a cheater. So, how much value can you get from an 8-tile Barbican? I'm pretty sure you can still lock down a lot of resources. So, I don't think we're going to see Barbican rushes being dead. But you're not going to see, like... Do you guys remember the good old days where it would be like, okay, I'm going to make the Barbican. And you'd bring all of your villagers. Now, I'm not on the pup at the moment, which is why the change has not yet taken place. But 8 tiles, so hypothetically, it would be... So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That is so far away. Look at that. That is. Oof. I mean, you're still going to be able to camp like somebody's main resources, right? Like, I could throw down my Barbican. Hold on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Like, that's 8 tiles right there. It just makes it very awkward to Barbican rush. I don't think you're ever going to see people Barbican rushing. And obviously in a lot of lower level games, like you would have had Kremlin rush, Siren Trade Network rush, all that kind of stuff. But I think that's a lot less impactful. Barbican rush was actually a strategy that you could go to. Bit of a cheese strategy, but it's dead. Ladies and gentlemen, rest in peace, Barbican rush from 2021 to 2023. It's gone. All right, civ-specific changes. Abbasid dynasty, the Ghulam. Train time has been increased from 22.5 seconds to 26 seconds, and now deals 15 damage on a charge attack. I don't know what it used to deal, so I can't say whether this is a nerf or a buff, but we can assume it's probably a nerf if they've also increased the training time for it as well. This unit seemed pretty crazy. We were watching a few games from Faye, and she was able to make just Ghulams and just go toe-to-toe with knights pretty effectively. So, interesting change that they're nerfing the Abbasid dynasty. We move forward the Chinese. So, additional barrels tech now gives 1 additional rocket to Nest of Bees instead of 2. And the cost has been increased from 150, 350 to 200, 500. So, this is interesting because this technology used to be what's called reusable barrels. So, reusable barrels reduced the cost of the Chinese... Of the Chinese Nest of Bees by 25%. And so it got changed into a technology that made the Nest of Bees stronger in the late game, where they gave 2 barrels, or 2 additional barrels, so they went from 8 up to 10. But obviously, people are like, well, guys, Nesta bees are already really good. They don't really need to be better. So they've reduced it down to 1 additional rocket. Fair enough, fair enough. They've also reverted the +2 melee damage increase on fire lancers. This is a pup change only. Yeah. So what they did was they reduced the siege, but they increased the melee damage. I thought it kind of made sense, but at the same time, like, I know a lot of people like fire lancers, but I feel like once they get into they're very good if you micro them. If you don't micro them, they're not very good. So it's definitely a skill thing. Palace Guard cost increased, oh my lord, from 125 to 120 to 125. It's not that significant. I mean, I say it's not that significant. It's an increase of 25%. That's by most metrics, that is very significant. Even though it only seems like 5, you've got to think about it from the scheme of, like, I've got 40 palace guards. Well, I've got 40 palace guards. 40 times 5, that's 200 gold extra that I need now. So I guess 200 gold isn't really that much in the scheme of things, but you will notice this in the late game. I suspect, probably not, but maybe. I don't know. It's so small, right? Like, only 5 gold. I definitely think that if they went up by 10 gold here, it would probably be way too much. Not way too much, but it's a big jump, right? Like, you would be essentially adding 50% of the cost onto this. So that would be significant. But overall, I think these Chinese changes are probably justified. China in the late game is very good, and all of these were targeted towards Chinese late game, or at least towards when, China's online. If China's got fire lancers, they're online. There's nobody who's not yet online with China making fire lancers. So yeah, I think this makes sense. All right, Delhi Sultanate. Ghazi Raider train time increased from 22.5 to 25 seconds. Tower of Victory. Oh my god, they nerfed Tower of Victory? Dude, people were having too many victories with the Tower of Victory, and so they nerfed it. Wow. Tower of Victory landmark attack speed bonus reduced from 20 to 15%. Sanctity Technology gold income bonus reduced from 50 to 25%. So people are only going to be getting 125 gold on the sacred site instead of 150. Developer note, Sanctity can create very binary games where the Delhi player has 3 sacred sites and a gigantic advantage, or no sacred sites and is far behind. We reduced this delta in power and gave them the Ghazi Raider to create a more balanced power curve in the feudal age. That makes sense. But I guess that's really where it comes down to the skill gap, right? Like, any games... But even then, right? Like, there are games you see where the Delhi has 3 sacred sites and they still lose. I still think back to that Ottoman game, the Delhi versus Ottoman game. I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been Beastie versus B, maybe. And it was like a 28-minute feudal game. And the Ottoman player ended up beating the Delhi player with 3 sacred sites. But it very much comes down to skill on who can hold the sacred sites. But I still think that this is going to be, like, there's not going to be a single Delhi player that still doesn't go for the sacred sites, right? Like, this is, the power of Sanctity, at least for me, comes from the fact that you can get sacred sites earlier than your enemies, and you can convert the gold that you get from that into a tech advantage that you can then use to win the game or threaten to win the game. And that additional 25%, it's not huge, right? Like, you're going from 150 gold to 125 gold. So when we see that and we go, oh my god, it's reduced from 50 down to 25%, well, it's reduced from 150 gold down to 125 gold. It's not that big. Anyway, Delhi nerf though. It's a nerf in the scheme of the things where they also got a Ghazi Raider, which is like a pretty big buff. That unit is amazing. I will take 3 of them. English. Abbey of Kings landmark. Crowning a king cost reduced from 120 to 100. The king now heals himself with the aura. Okay. Vanguard Men-at-Arms melee armor reduced from 3 to 2. This is a great change. I love this change. This actually means that you can fight against Men-at-Arms with spearmen, because before you couldn't really fight with spearmen against Men-at-Arms. They were just way too strong. Like, you could outnumber them, say 3 to 1, and you would still be in a really difficult spot against them. So I think this is the correct play. Definitely the correct change from the devs. They've still got the ranged armor, which means that you can take a few shots from the town center, take a few shots from English villages. But yeah, overall, definitely the right change. All right, Malians. Fort of the Huntress landmark. Lingering stealth aura increased from 10 seconds to 30 seconds. My lord. Fruma Garrison landmark train speed decreased by 10%. So Donzo Archer Musafari Warrior train time increased from 22 to 24 seconds. Javelin Thrower from 33 to 37 seconds. And Musafani Garda from 52 to 57. This is a good change. And this, it's a Malian nerf. Definitely they need a nerf at the moment. They're quite strong, especially once they hit Castle Age. And it's on the right area. So we've seen cows buffed. And we've seen the Fruma Garrison nerfed. So devs are kind of saying like, hey guys, cows are cool. Make cows. Make the big cow landmark. Griot Bar landmark. Festival durations increased from 30 seconds to 60 seconds. And the cooldown decreased from 60 to 30 seconds. This is a wonderful change for the Griot Bar. That is actually amazing. A lot of people forget you have to pay 300 gold for the festival at the Griot Bar. And it's like, bro, why do I want to pay for the festival? That's so expensive. And don't get me wrong, like some of them are good. Like the Siege Festival is amazing. If you're sieging a keep down, throw that bad boy on and just laugh at the enemy. So yeah, that's a good change. And banker repairs, effect reduced from 100 to 50% repair speed. And research time reduced from 60 seconds down to 30 seconds. Good change. Banco repairs, I don't know if anybody knew about this, but this was madly overpowered. You could heal, like in the same way that you could take down something really fast with the Griot Bara and the Siege Dance, the Banco repairs, you could out heal like 4 trebuchets with like 5 villagers. It was wild. It was absolutely crazy. All right, well, overall good changes for the Malians. I think they're definitely targeted at the right area. Mongols, Khan, fixed an issue where the Khan Scouting Falcon would sometimes spawn in the center of the map and not trigger the ability cooldown. And Khan's weapons gain +1 bonus versus deer, wolves, and boar. This allows the Khan to 2-shot deer, which is important when fighting versus Rus players to allow bounty counterplay. Wow. They've had 3-shotting deer for so long, haven't they? Or did that get changed? I mean, I remember it always used to be 3-shot back in the day, but I never played Mongols, but that's big. And as a newly minted Mongol main, that excites me greatly. The Mongols are back, baby. We're back. All right. Ottomans. Great Bombard emplacement cost increased from 250 to 400, or 250 to 250,500. Okay, they've obviously said it's kind of strong. We need to make it a bit more expensive. Sipahi health reduced from 160, 190, 230 to 155, 185, 220. So very slight reductions, but obviously these do stack up. And swap Advanced Academy and Fast Training back to their original positions in the Vizier panel. Pup only issue. Yep. Fixed a bug where Janissary health was 130 instead of intended 95. This was a pup only issue. Okay, so nothing too crazy there. They actually nerfed the Ottomans with the Sabai and the Great Bombard. Nothing too crazy. All right, next up, we've got the Rus. Hunting Cabin. Build speed decreased from 40 seconds to 25 seconds. Kremlin Landmark no longer gains a ticket upon completion. The first ticket gain occurs after 1 minute. And Wooden Fortress health reduced from 2,000 to 1,750. Interesting. I do like the fact that they've reduced the build speed on hunting cabins. In the early game, it feels like these guys build so long or take so long to build. So this is a great change. And that's definitely going to speed up the early game for the Rus. This is, you might not think that this is a big deal for the Rus, but this is massive. Okay, why is this massive? Let's say you open with a hunting cabin. Your hunting cabin's now going to be up 15 seconds sooner. Your first scout from your hunting cabin is going to be out 15 seconds sooner. That means more bounty, or bunty, as some people call it. That means you're going to be able to contest deer on the map sooner. It means your second scout's going to be out 15 seconds sooner as well. So there's a whole lot of effects that trail on from this. And so those games where maybe you're sitting on 235 bounty, you'll now be sitting on 265 bounty. And because you've got that slightly higher bounty, you've now kicked over that next threshold, which means you've got slightly more food. And with slightly more food means slightly more units. And with slightly more units means slightly more victories. So I wouldn't be surprised if just even a small change like this, we see a pretty drastic change in the power of the Rus in the early game. This is pretty big. But at the same time, they get nerfed on the Kremlin. A landmark that was considered by many to be quite good. Which is crazy because Rus have got another S tier Age 2 landmark or Feudal Age landmark in the Golden Gate. But overall, I think that these changes are incredibly solid. There's none really that make me scratch my head. I guess the biggest one is like Barbican not being able to be built near a town center anymore. I didn't think it was that much of an issue, but I guess it makes sense. Other than that, everything else is just like 100% on the money. I mean, even this is still 100% on the money. I'm curious, I'm curious what drove this. I would love to know, was there a specific game? I remember that one game that I casted and I was like, okay, this is kind of stupid. You remember the 5 spears? The guy that brought 5 spears and then dropped the Barbican right on the TC? That was crazy. All right, fellas. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this caster game. I've just woken up. As you can hear by my voice, my wife has just brought me a coffee. So I'm going to take a sip of it and I'm going to bid you guys adieu. Thank you so much for watching and we'll catch you guys in the next one.